It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Richard Campbell's here. Do a little speculating about next week's big build conference. There might be some pretty important announcements. We'll also talk about Moment 3. It's coming next week. What can you expect? Well, I'll install iPhone link for Windows on the show live. It actually works. And it's the end of the line for 21H2. What does that mean for you? Find out next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 829, recorded Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. You can't spell Blair Witch without AI. Windows Weekly is brought to you by CacheFly. CacheFly delivers rich media content up to 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods and 30% faster than other major CDNs. Meet customer expectations 100% of the time. Learn how you can get your first month free at CacheFly.com. We thank you so much for listening. As an ad-supported network, we're always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our audience. With our tailored host-read ads, you'll get an authentic and proper introduction to your brand with every ad read. Visit twit.tv/advertise and launch your campaign today. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we talk about the latest news from Microsoft. Next week, there's going to be a lot of news from Microsoft. This week, I don't know. We'll find out because Richard Campbell's here in the dark.
In the dark.
In the dark. He is,
like
of
the
course,
Billy Squire song.
The wall behind me is green, but to be sufficiently lit, I don't think you can see the wall behind me at all.
No, it's really good. I like it.
It looks like you're hiding in a tent from the Blair Witch.
Yeah,
I am so scared. Richard is in Antwerp, which I've just learned is in Belgium, of all places. Host of Run As Radio, runasradio.com. Paul Thurrott is also here. Hello, Paulie.
Hello, Leo.
Still in PA.
Indeed.
Thurrott.com is his site. They are both getting visibly excited. I shouldn't say that. They are both invisibly excited about Build, which is next week, and we should announce that we will be covering Build keynotes both Tuesday and Wednesday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And because I think there's going to be some announcements. You think so, too? You guys, if you can't say anything, let me just say.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you could just go to the Build website and see for yourself.
You gotta see.
There's a lot of information there.
It's just a lot of AI. They're AIing a lot next week.
Sam Altman's going to join Satya Nadella on Tuesday to talk about OpenAI, which, of course, is almost 50% Microsoft now.
I assume they're going to announce their sale of OpenAI to Microsoft in full.
Wow.
Why not?
Wow. You think? Well, maybe. Who knows?
I think they want it. Yeah.
Sam was.
I think there's the announcement, right? Forget Activision. We'll take OpenAI.
That could be it.
There you go.
Sam was in Washington, D.C. Yesterday talking to Congress about AI and saying things that made Congress happy, like, yeah, we're scared of it, too. It's scary.
Please regulate my business.
Please regulate us. We don't know what we're doing.
We can't control it. It can hear me now.
That really inspires. I got to tell you, it's such confidence.
You've got all the Blair Witch going on today.
We really do. Clearly. I am so scared.
You can't spell a Blair Witch without AI. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Shouldn't really have a show title so early, but okay. I'm going to rate that one down. That's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So anyway, we'll be covering that, and we don't really know what they're going to talk about. We're just kind of guessing it's going to be great. Tuesday and Wednesday. And I know people are interested.
That's the assumption.
Well, we don't, I mean, even Apple only gets one day. Google gets one day. Microsoft's going to get two. So just thank me later, okay? Yeah, and here from Jameson, not the whiskey, I got a package for you guys. Hey, Leo. Love Twit and all your shows, but Windows Weekly is by far my favorite. You really knocked it out of the park bringing Richard in. He's great.
Aw.
I love the cohesion of you all three together and laugh so hard at all of Paul's witty humor. All the best,
Find
Jameson.
Paul and Richard's wives.
Well, but he also sent a package, which I don't know what's in here. It's unfortunately, it doesn't feel like a bottle. It feels something like something else. I don't know what.
Yeah.
What could this be? I'm really
It's
taking a
Kindle
chance
cover.
opening this in public.
Is it white powder coming out of it?
I don't know.
And on
I don't know.
stream, yeah.
Oh, oh, this is the. Oh, he's joking because he sent me the Steve Jobs book that the Steve Jobs group has put out in his honor. Well, that was nice of you, Jameson.
I thought it would be bigger.
That's
I'm
really
sure they
nice.
hear that a lot.
This is awesome. Of course, they have a website and so forth, but this is the book that they put out just recently. Jameson, you are so kind. It's if they had a Bill Gates in his own words, we could do that instead. But anyway, that's very nice. So I will tear this in half, and I'll send a half to each of you.
I want the top half. Oh, wait.
This is hysterical. This is great. I'm really thrilled to have it, actually. That's great. Thank you, Jameson. Anyway, let's get to... So I've made the announcement that we're going to be here early next Tuesday and Wednesday. And what we'll do probably is start Windows Weekly a little earlier. Can I say why, Richard, or is that a secret?
Nope, nothing's a secret.
You've got a big interview 12:30.
Yeah, I got on the Wednesday. Mr. Mark Rasinovich is going to come on Run As.
That's exciting.
Did you see my awesome interaction with Mark on Twitter this week?
I didn't miss it, unfortunately. It must have been great.
So I'm not going to name the publication, but we'll have a story about Rust later in the show. Mark tweeted about Rust being available in the kernel and blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
So some other publication wrote, Twitter user, Mark Rasinovich, pointed out that.
Twitter user?
I'm like, Twitter user. Yeah.
That's real.
That's the worst title anyone could ever have is Twitter user.
Set the record straight on that one.
Even Elon doesn't want to be seen as Twitter user.
Yeah, I think I want to refer to Elon from now on as
Twitter user Elon Musk.
That's you know what? That's a good one.
Let's do that from now on.
Let's do that.
Rasinovich, of course, is head of Azure, and but also before that, he did sysinternals. He's a great programmer. He's a novelist.
He reverse engineered the NT kernel. By the way, he mentioned. So he responded to this, and he mentioned. I forgot about this because he's done so much. You kind of forget how all the stuff. He was the guy that found the Sony rootkit in the CDs. Remember?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about it. I forgot about it. Anyway, so
I didn't realize it was him. No, I didn't know it. We talked about it extensively at the time.
I'm trying to find the exact quote he gave me. I'm sorry, I can't find this. But he went on the Today Show at that time, and they referred to him, I think, I'm just going to paraphrase because
as Twitter user? No, there was no Twitter.
No, almost. So Twitter user of the time. It was like concerned consumer. Mark Rasinovich. I could be off a word, but it's basically concerned.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, so he's like, like Twitter user, whatever.
At the time, what was he? Just some dude. I mean, he was he sysinternals by then? I don't know.
Yeah, he was concerned consumer.
He was a concerned consumer.
At that time, when was that? I mean, he was definitely doing sysinternals by that point, I would imagine. But that was like the late 1990s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Look that up.
But no, was it that long ago?
They had distributed like
2005. It was 2005.
So
because we talked about it on Twitter, I remember.
Yeah, he might have been at Microsoft by that point, but certainly had the sysinternal stuff going and all that.
Sony BMG copy protection rootkit scandal in Wikipedia. A scandal erupted in 2005 regarding Sony BMG's implementation of copy protection measures, 22 million CDs, which created invisible rootkits on your Windows machine and would phone home
to him as WinInternals researcher.
Okay.
Not concerned consumer.
WinInternals researcher.
Yeah. He joined Microsoft in 2006, so that is right before
it.
Yeah, the Sony rootkit.
So excellent.
And Sony just, the scandal erupted October 31st, 2005, when WinInternals, later acquired by Microsoft Corporation, researcher Mark Rasinovich posted to his blog a detailed description and technical analysis of the XCP software. Thank God Mark found it because it was a rootkit. It was invisible.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be hard to
Good one, too.
find.
So funny.
So smart guy even in 2005, and I am jealous because we've had him on the show, haven't we, Paul? I feel like we've had him
Sure,
on
we
Windows
have.
Weekly.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
interviewed him a few times
Yeah.
over the years, and
I really think he's cool.
no, we all know that he's amazing.
He's the ultimate cool.
Yep, he's what every man wants to be.
Yeah, and
Rich,
every woman.
tall, good-looking. You know, I mean, muscular. I mean, it's just pretty much the whole package.
Okay.
Bastard.
So that'll be Run as Radio. You don't put those out the same day though. You take a little while to get them.
That'll be a few weeks later.
A few weeks later.
I haven't had him on the show in a few years. I think the last time. Yeah, I think the last time he was on was like 2012.
Nice.
You know, he's a busy guy. It's not easy to get him.
I wanted to show
He's
you.
one of the most.
Go ahead.
Sorry. He's just one of the most sought-out speakers at these shows.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Jeffrey Snover's gone.
Developers
unfortunately,
love
but-
him, right?
Mhm.
He's like Scott
everyone
Hanselman.
loves
He's
him.
somebody
Yeah.
developers relate to, and when he says something, it's not corporate speak. It's like kind of
Well,
genuine.
we've Richard too. I'm sure we've been kind of privy to the internal, kind of fight over who gets the best scores at these shows, and that kind of thing. And it's it's excellent watching these guys go at it. It's really funny.
Rasinovich, Manassi,
Snover back in the
Stover, Jesper Johansson.
Mm-hmm.
All and any given day, those guys were going to get the top score. You never knew.
It's just if you want to see people just talking, to each other, basically, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's them standing in front of the big tech ed board in the speakers lounge, waiting,
looking
for
at the scores.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Funny.
Let's get to Windows 11 because I know people are just can't wait.
Yeah.
By the
There's a
way,
lot
do
of
you
stuff coming
think now that you're not yet NDA'd, or are you? I'm just
No,
wondering
not yet.
so you don't know anything yet. So this is in full ignorance.
Yep.
Do you think Windows 12 will be announced next week?
I was just talking to Brad about this morning, and my guess is that it's not a hard guess to say they're going to talk about AI in Windows. It's one of those things they haven't really done yet. We've seen AI throughout Azure and Microsoft 365 more generally, but AI in Windows, that's a lock. Whether they actually name it as Windows 12, that's an open thing. I'm guessing they will utter the term Windows 12. Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's just a
and Windows 12 will be the AI version.
the AI
Windows.
release.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Very interesting. This is so exciting, actually.
Yep. I'm not very good at this kind of thing, but I will just point out I've been talking about this for a while. I've been talking about this since before the open AI stuff, like the notion that Windows 12 will be the AI release. And I remember I talked myself into it on that show, and I said, maybe they'll require an NPU, but realistically, it will probably just be better with an NPU.
Mm-hmm.
I more and more, and then you see just more and more evidence of it as we go forward. So it seems like this is going to happen.
Nice. Good. Well, I'm excited. That's Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And if you can't be here for the keynote, you can certainly listen to Windows Weekly, as you do.
Yeah,
obviously,
we're going to talk a
week.
little bit more about build later in the show as well. Because if you're interested in Windows, for example, which you might be watching this show, this is actually kind of a nice Windows heavy show.
Good.
Despite all the AI stuff, which honestly in previous several years always hasn't been. So that's kind of nice too. We'll talk about that, in a bit.
Well, then let's talk about the release preview of Windows 11.
So last week, Microsoft released to the release preview a build that will be brought to stable as what they're calling Moment 3 internally. And I'm going to get to the whole moment thing just to kind of recap what's going on there. But it hit the release preview last week. It will hit a kind of public preview release in week D, which should be next week. But this is one of those rare months where we have 5 Tuesdays. So it could be the 30th instead of the 23rd. I guess we'll see. Technically, usually it's week D. That's the plan. That's the stated plan. And then it will go stable on June 13th, which is the second Tuesday of June, right? The patch Tuesday.
They got to start using week E's. That would just
I know
make
the rare week E release.
Week E. Who knows what we do then?
Yeah, exactly.
Are there some months with
Exactly.
5 weeks? I guess sort of.
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah, there are
4
5
of them.
Tuesdays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it happens once or twice a year, I would say.
Well, Richard
feel like
says
we had one
4
of these.
times a year.
Oh, 4. There you go.
Said
Okay.
4 times a year.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like we had one fairly recently.
I gotta go rewrite my my date code. Clearly,
Yeah,
I had no idea. Week
so
E,
week E is not.
not official.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's not an official. Like we always do this on week E. Although it is one. If it's quarterly, then maybe that's not a horrible thing to do.
It's not outrageous.
It'd be kind of cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So compared to, I did a write up about all of the new features that are in this thing. I would say compared to the previous 2 moment releases, this is the least interesting from an end user perspective, because there isn't a lot of front facing UI change or, new features that are super interesting, if that makes sense. There is some stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would say, I'm trying to think, like, what would people actually notice?
Okay.
A lot. That brings it down significantly. One of them is that the snipping tool is becoming the default action for print screen. I talked about that a week or 2 ago. So that's coming in moment 3. But a lot of it is just kind of UI revision stuff. There's a change to Alt Tab. So, for example, Alt Tab today by default in Windows 10 and 11 will take in the 3 most recent Edge tabs in addition to all your open windows. And then you could change it to don't show tabs, 5 most recent tabs, or all tabs. All tabs in Windows. Now it's only going to be locked to 20 at the most. So it's 25 or 3 or none, with some small changes to that UI. I think that's a memory issue. It probably has to do with sleeping tabs too. Edge by default will sleep tabs, and it's probably hard to make those show up or whatever. Or you switch to them and it's a slow switch. We talked about access keys, remember, a few weeks back. That's coming. Access keys is almost an accessibility feature. In fact, it may literally be an accessibility feature, even though they're not describing it as such. And what I mean by that is that most people will never see access keys ever. The way to see it is to select something or nothing in an Explorer window or on the desktop, and then hit the menu key on your keyboard if you have one. And that, context menu will appear.
Look, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it has access keys on it. So, and this is the point behind access keys compared to shortcuts, like keyboard shortcuts, is that they're only one keystroke. So you can, from that point, or not from that point.
It's not Control V for view. It's just V once you're in that mode.
It's just V, yeah. So the idea is you hit a key to bring it up, then you hit a key to select something or move to the next level of the menu, right? So the view choice is a good one, because if you hit V, a submenu will pop up off of it, and that too will have access keys on it, right?
So you hit the menu key, then V, and you got the view menu.
Right.
Hit the menu key O, sort by menu.
Yep.
Now I noticed there's capital, but capital E is the same as regular E. Yes, it's not.
It's just the letter. Yeah,
it's
you
just the
don't
letter
have to
E.
hit that.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to hit
So menu E now refreshes whatever you're looking at. That's cool.
Yeah. So menu key E to refresh.
Menu key D.
Menu
key D people will use for display settings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like in Windows as a whole, we're used to certain things. The control keyboard shortcuts, the alt keyboard shortcuts, and now I would say even the Windows keyboard shortcuts are pretty familiar to people. Windows key shortcuts are kind of weird. Some keyboards don't even have the menu key.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Lenovo. I don't. So I'll have to do Shift. See, I'm never going to use Shift F12D.
Shift 11. Yeah, Shift. That one's tough because
Shift F11.
I wrote Shift 11, but it might be.
No, you Shift F11, then tap one of the. See, that's kind of annoying. So I'm never going to use that unless I have a menu key. But if you had a menu key, that's great.
Yeah.
The problem is, has there been any use for the menu key until now? It just popped up in the menu, right?
It brings up the context menu. That was so.
So a lot of keyboards have eliminated it because it never did anything that valuable. Yeah.
Well, it's non.
Yeah.
I would say context menus are kind of non-discoverable, even though we've had this notion of right-clicking things in Windows since Windows 95, and before that in Office since Office, whatever that was, 6, the one before Windows 95. I don't know. Listen, most people don't know Control C is copy.
No, I know.
What are we expecting of people here?
But I think I'm probably fairly typical where I use the Windows key a lot and I use the right click a lot, and those are kind of my go-tos.
Yeah, when I went back to college, I worked in a computer lab, and this had just happened, and so I didn't know anything about the software, but someone would raise their hand like, "What's up?" And they're like, "I can't find this thing," and I'm like, "Did you right click it?" And they're like, "No," and then oh, there it is. Yeah, see, there you go.
Cool,
And they're like, "Oh, you're really smart." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the genius."
Brilliant.
Just had no idea what that feature was, but it's just right clicking. It always seemed to help.
Yeah.
Anywho, beyond that stuff, I mean, honestly, front facing, like you can add seconds to the system clock. I think we talked about that a little bit. There really
That's
just isn't.
important.
There really is not much. This is not much. There is more stuff. I don't mean to say there isn't stuff. I'm just saying things that will impact most users and that they'll actually see and notice. I mean, not much.
I know. I always get excited when I see widget improvements.
Yeah, they're not even in the initial release, so
Okay.
don't get too excited about that one.
Two-factor
I'm glad
authentication.
the USB 4 stuff has been implemented. We don't have any hardware for it yet, but
Right.
at least
Right.
that's not going to hold us back.
Yeah.
If you get some USB 4 hardware, Win 11 will run it.
Well, maybe you'll get some USB 4 hardware next week. Maybe. Possible.
I'm thinking
I don't know what you're talking about, Leo.
October, but-
So maybe.
and neither does he.
Yeah. Right.
I like
There's
this. You
also-
know what? This is something on the that you get on an iPhone. Two-factor authentication code clipboard copy, where it automatically copies the authentication code of the clipboard because you know you're going to need to be pasting it.
Because you're going to paste it. Yeah. Yep. That is nice.
That's kind of
It's
nice.
especially nice.
Right.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah. it is
Seconds in system clock. That's huge.
game changer.
Game change. People have been asking for that for a long time.
And
VPN
they need
status.
to increment the version number. This is clearly
Clearly
11.5.
massive. Yeah.
Now with seconds.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm semi intrigued by, and not only because they miswrote it in the UI, is this notion of presence sensing. A lot of computers have presence sensors in them, and that is something that detects when you walk up to and then leave the PC, right? So Windows today has very basic support for that. There's this notion that actually it's not even using a presence sensor. It can connect to a Bluetooth powered smartphone, and if that thing leaves the area, Windows will say, "Hey, it looks like you're gone,"
That's
and
great.
will lock the computer.
I love that.
It's okay. It's okay. A better technology would be some kind of a camera-like sensor that actually sees you.
Yeah, hello could do
The
it.
IR device.
Yeah,
Anything that can do hello.
Yeah, if you got a
Yeah,
hello machine,
so-
you should be able to.
Well, okay. So today, the way that works is a PC maker has to implement the presence sensing part of it. So in other words, the screen will come on as you approach it. Then Windows Hello will kick in and see you, and then
Yeah.
you'll be signed in. That's kind of a
That's
nice
good.
set of functionality.
Yeah.
But it's not built into Windows yet. But now that presence sensing is in Windows settings, I'm thinking they're going to be adding that capability directly to Windows,
So
which is good.
this is part of Moment 3 as well.
Yep.
So Moment 3
That's-
comes out Tuesday. When does it come out? Is
That's
it
the thing. All right. So it technically comes out for everyone on Tuesday, June 13th. But because of the preview update schedule that we have now, right, that they just revealed back in, I don't know, February, March, whenever that was, typically the preview version of this, which you have to go manually choose to download.
I might want to do that. I might want to flip that switch that I just got,
Yeah.
right?
So that should come out, well, if they follow the normal schedule, it'd be May 23rd, which is week D.
Flip this here.
But-
this is here switch. Get the latest
Yeah.
updates as soon as they're available.
Well, so actually that's an open question. So does that mean download a preview update? I don't think it does.
Oh.
I think you still have to manually download it. I think what
Okay.
that is referring to is, as we talked about this, is the controlled feature releases, which are the one-off mini moments, right? That go out. Actually, let's talk about the schedule, because actually this ties into this kind of next topic,
There's
right?
another show
'Cause this
title,
is-
by the way, one-off mini moments. Hold on, let me write that
Yes.
down. Yes.
Well, because these things are all interrelated, right? So I, every couple of weeks now, I've been talking about how Microsoft is changing the way that they update Windows, right? And they're kind of formalizing this new strategy, which they'll change in 2 weeks. But here's where it is now. Once a year, we get a feature update, right? Capital F, capital U. This is a version upgrade.
Yeah.
Those things are deployed in the second half of a year, and they use a kind of a logical system where they have known good configurations that should have the highest success rate with the feature update, and they go to those computers first. And then over time, they let in more and more computers as they see more success. And then eventually, some months later, 4 or 5 months later, this thing will be completely deployed, meaning if your computer is compatible with that version of Windows, you will get it. There's nothing blocking it anymore. Once a quarter, they release this thing we just talked about, which is a moment, which is a series of feature updates. That's why there's a bunch of them, right? It actually is not 100% clear how this thing is deployed. I think it is just deployed. In other words, that day comes, Patch Tuesday hits once a quarter. It will be installed eventually. You can go get it. You can look at Windows Update to make it happen, but you could just sit there and wait, and it will eventually just be installed. It's mandatory.
Here's your moment.
It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then between moments, right? Also between feature updates, I guess, we have these things called controlled feature releases. And these are released so far almost every single month. They only skip January, as we discussed previously. Those are deployed randomly, which is crazy because there's no compatibility issue here. So they want to do it in little controlled waves and see, make sure there aren't big mistakes, not that that's ever stopped them. And then eventually they'll go out to everybody. And this is why you see some computers that have one feature and some computers don't. It's random how those things go out. And then I just threw this in here just to be complete. I mean, also apps are updated. They can happen anytime, right? And an app could be updated literally every day if they wanted to. So that's the system we have now. I actually think that moments and controlled feature releases are exactly the same thing, technically, right? That the only difference is the volume of updates and maybe how it's deployed. In other words, I don't believe that moments are actually deployed randomly. But then again, individual features in a moment could be deployed randomly. So maybe a moment is just a combination of several CFRs. Maybe. I don't know.
This isn't confusing at all.
No, listen, this is, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have a career. This is what I live for. So
this is what you were born for, Paul.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I helped it's my stepmother sort of watch a college graduation on her computer, and she was thanking me. And it was for my nephew. And I said, listen, this is the only thing I can help you with. if you needed electrical work or some screw thing and, put in or some whatever, I can't do any of that stuff. No. This is all I can do.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Yeah. It's like, be grateful. I'm never going to be able to mow the lawn, but I can fix your computer. So
yeah.
There's that.
So this process of updating Windows Microsoft calls it continuous innovation. They used to call it Windows as a service, right? It's the same thing. It's just a different marketing name for the same.
Though we're
it makes it seem like it's like a fun thing.
Yeah, it's a fun thing.
So if you follow Google, you might have seen stories from Google-oriented blogs that were talking about the few number of times that Google executives uttered terms like Android 14 during the Google I/O keynote.
Yeah.
In fact, they only said it once.
Right.
They didn't say Google Assistant even once at all.
Yeah.
They said Android a bunch of times.
They're doing an AI thing, and they don't mention their voice assistant. Yeah.
Right.
Weird.
Google executives uttered the term AI over 110 times during that keynote, over once per minute. It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
So that for someone like me who follows Microsoft, I see that and I think, oh man, I recognize this. This is what happened to Windows, right? This is exactly, so it was all cloud. Now it's going to be all AI. And what gets shunted to the side is the thing I care about, which in my case is Windows, right? So I'm like, that's really interesting. So I started reading some of these stories. And one of the Google guys, Samir Samad, who was on stage during that I/O keynote, was asked by The Verge, you're not talking up Android, like what's going on? And then he said something that really resonated as well. And he said, because we can update Android so many different ways and so often now using like the Play system and app updates, the exact kind of system that we have in Windows, right, with this continuous innovation thing. He says, honestly, an annual update is not that big of a deal for us anymore. There will be some new features that will ship in the new version of Android when it arrives this fall in Android 14. But the reality, especially if you have Pixel, think about it, like how similar the system is, right? They have things that update through the store, so they can update system components at any time. Pixels get, what do they call them? Feature drops, which are like moments, right? Once a quarter, they get a bunch of new features across the Pixel ecosystem. It's kind of cool, right? And so Android 13, 14, whatever comes out every year, and it's like, it's like whatever. It's not a big deal. And so it's very, very similar actually to what Microsoft is doing. In fact, my theory is that Microsoft, which is kind of jealous of the success of mobile, is probably copying what they're doing in mobile, essentially with Windows. They're trying to make Windows more like mobile,
Mm.
even though it's this legacy operating system for the desktop. It
But
makes me
this has
wonder.
been an ongoing battle to say what is the right cadence for Windows.
Right.
And, we figured out that the big updates every quarter was too many, and then it was twice a year.
Yeah.
Like now that they're granularizing a bit, or I'm just happy they're working on this. It means there's new minds
There is
actually
that, yeah.
concerned
Yep.
about this
Yep.
and trying to find a better way.
Right. Well, you'll appreciate this, Richard. I think updating Windows is like traveling. You either do it too much, or you don't do it enough.
Mhm.
Either
way, you're never good at it.
and you're never happy. Yeah. Yep. You're never going to be happy. So yeah, I wonder if mobile app providers like Apple and Google feel pressure from the web, right? Where you can flip a switch and update everything all at once.
Yeah.
There's always a faster model of updating than the one you're doing.
Yeah. Just press refresh, right? You don't get
It
a
also
choice.
it also kind of raises the issue about Apple, right? Because Apple does release little interim updates, obviously, and sometimes iOS 16 has had several updates. Some of them include new features, right? But they really do still rely on that big bang release every year. And I think the reason is they're selling hardware,
It's
right?
good for marketing.
Yeah. It's just if they don't have something to sell, it makes the whole thing seem less interesting.
And
So you
every
get
time
your-
there's a new piece of hardware, the fact that everything's moved around is acceptable,
Yes.
as opposed
Right,
to
right.
the hardware you were using yesterday and are still using today, you no
Right.
longer understand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I complain about Microsoft because I care more. And I feel like we're more used to or accepting of updates happening all the time on mobile for some reason.
Mhm.
And I think in the past we justified it by the fact that these were new platforms, relatively speaking, and they needed that
Yeah.
level of updating. I think now that we're in, what are we, 16 years into the iPhone? They could slow down.
Yeah.
They're there.
They're not doubling their market anymore.
Yeah.
It is, so to speak, a red ocean, right? Like everybody who's got a device has got a device. They're
Right.
all fighting for market now. And one of the features that a lot of people look for is reliability.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, one way to be reliable is to stop changing the damn thing every week. But
Yeah.
you know,
Weird.
that's I know. Whatever. So there's that. And then this is kind of it's not a rhetorical question. I just don't know the answer to it. One of the mysteries of the past year or so as the insider program has changed and changed and changed is that we got into a situation where people would be in the dev channel, the beta channel, or I think even the release preview channel. And they flip that switch in settings to say when this version of Windows ships, I'm going to get off of the insider program. And because of the way the insider program changed, where none of those things, except for the release preview channel, were actually associated with the Windows version, you could never get off the treadmill, right? So they've had to open these kind of artificial magic windows, or I think they called them off ramps, by which people
Right.
could get out. And of course, they would say to these people, look, you're technical, you can figure out how to wipe this thing with an ISO and get back to stable.
Yeah. Pave the machine, which is inevitably the correct answer.
Yeah, it's always that's what I like to do actually. But I did install Moment 3 via the release preview on a couple of computers because I needed to document it and get ready for the book. And I'm wondering if I did flip that switch, will I get onto stable after Moment 3 ships on June 13th? And I don't actually know. I'm going to find out. So we'll find out. All right. So
All right.
that, they say, is that.
It's progress. I'm going to call it progress.
It's some kind of grass.
Mhm.
Really sure.
It's gress.
It's at least grass.
Ingress, egress, progress.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Ingress.
We got the gress part. That's the key.
Right.
You
all I
choose
can
the
get it to.
preposition. Where are we on the
Aggressive.
aggress?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that. And then,
We got to talk about phone link.
yeah, I mean, it was, I think it was only a few months ago that they announced this in the insider preview, and it's kind of moved forward rather quickly. And now it's available to everybody. So assuming you have Bluetooth in your computer, which you would if you have a laptop, especially. Oddly, I do not on this computer, which is a desktop computer. And I kept thinking I wasn't getting this update, but I eventually figured out it was because I don't have Bluetooth.
Oh,
It's okay. other computers, but you can now launch Phone Link, the app, which is included in Windows 11, and connect it to an iPhone or an Android device, right? So it's been an Android device for a long, long time. It's not as full featured as the Android functionality. It has partial support for iMessage, right? The Apple messaging. I almost called it a standard. The proprietary Apple.
It's a standard if you're using an iPhone.
Yeah, it's a standard for about 50% of the world. But yeah, whatever it is.
So I'm going to install this phone. I don't know why it's not installed on here. So I'm going to install this from the store. This is it, right?
Yep. You don't have really.
Yeah, I thought it was. I'd used it before.
Yeah, it comes with Windows. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that odd?
Okay. Well, you should. Do you have an iPhone with you there?
Yes, I'm going to try it.
Oh, good. You can. This will be interesting. We don't really have the 37 minutes it's going to take for you to set this up, but
I was and sitting here. I have a Pixel, and I've used it with the Samsung and loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open Phone Link, which I've just installed.
I suspect you're going to have to install a mobile app on your iPhone. I haven't.
Oh, now it says use your Android phone from your PC. Oh, no, so that's a little discouraging.
Yeah. Okay.
So I need an app on my iPhone too called Phone Link?
Yeah, but you're not going to, that's not what you're not. So what you're seeing there, this is, all right, so this is not related to CFRs, but this is one of the issues of the Windows. And it relates not just to apps, which are updated through the store, obviously, but also to system components like OneDrive, which is integrated into Windows 10 and 11. There are 3 versions of the OneDrive UI out in the world, and whether this is CFR related, I don't know. It's irritating. And then what you're seeing is just an app store thing. So for some reason you downloaded this thing to your computer, and it gave you not the very latest version.
Oh,
well, no, I mean, that's weird. Like I don't understand how you could have possibly not gotten the very latest version.
Yeah, because I have it now on my iPhone, and it says to scan the QR code on my Windows machine.
So you already have that?
Oh, I just installed it.
You did? Oh, you just got it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
but you can't. There's nothing to. You can't. It doesn't have the option. You're not seeing the correct.
Well, what
UI.
if I pretend this is an Android phone?
I wouldn't do that.
What could go wrong?
Wait a minute. It just changed. That's
Okay.
weird. Now it says
now you
pick
have 2
your
buttons.
phone.
There it is. Okay, that's what you're looking for.
That's so weird. You saw what happened. You saw it. I have a recording.
Well, I saw the old UI, and now you have the right UI.
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
I'm gonna press. Click the iPhone button.
There's all kinds of
now
stuff. Now
I've got the scan.
The
scan QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I got the QR code. Continue with pairing Bluetooth. Okay. I don't suppose my showing that QR code on the screen will give somebody.
I was trying to scan it, but you didn't give me enough time.
Now I'm getting a pair. I'm saying pair. P-A-I-R, not P-E-A-R. Although I would love a pair right now if you had a nice juicy.
I would too, actually.
Yeah, Bosch or.
I do a pair of vodka. Does that help?
Okay, I'm pairing the device, and it says continuing Bluetooth. Look at that. Allow X1 Extreme to receive your iPhone notifications. Allow. Okay, view your PC for instructions. It says on the iPhone.
Sure
it says view your PC for.
Listen, if this is anything like the Android setup,
I
you're
did the
hate
Android
yourself by the time this is done.
Open, turn on system turn on share system in your to view. Turn on show notifications. Turn on sync contacts.
Oh my God.
Okay. When do I do these steps? Or maybe this is you're all set.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Sure.
Just kidding.
Sure. Welcome to the Phone Link app. So is it the same as Android, or are there some features missing?
There's some features missing.
Yeah.
In fact, there's 3 levels of support here, right? So if you have a Samsung device, certain Samsung devices, you get many more features.
Yeah, that worked
including
great
the ability
with
just to run apps.
Yeah,
right? Apps.
Yeah, that was really cool. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, Android has other features, and then iOS is kind of at the bottom.
So far.
Okay, open settings. So I have to do some stuff on the. I remember doing this on the Samsung too. You had to go through a bunch of permissions in order to have this work. So open settings and tap on Bluetooth. Okay. Tap the info next to X1 Extreme, which I am paired to because I did it. Yeah, info. Okay. Sync contacts. Yes. That was cool. So now my contacts are syncing. what could possibly go wrong. And now it's doing that. So yeah, so there's a few. I did this with the Samsung, I remember. Look at this. It's got my call history. That's cool. Let's see if it's got my messages. I'm not going to show this on the screen. Oh, I have to get permissions for messages. So
time. Like I said, there's lots to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots. You're going to be dicking around with this for a while. It's the way it.
All right. You all continue with your show, and I'll do my thing here. Okay. Yeah.
Listen, I'm glad they did this.
21H2.
Yeah.
It's now saying show notifications and sync contacts. Okay. Turn on show notifications. Oh, good. I turned that on. Okay. Done. Okay. This actually feels like it was a little easier than on the Samsung. Yeah, look, my messages are there. Look at that.
It's probably easier because there's less to do.
Right.
Right. There's less. It does less, so there's less to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's.
Yeah.
The point. Okay, so there you go. I haven't tried it yet, like I said.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Android takes a while to set up. It
was quite a few steps. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
But it does less, so I only have to turn on two things basically.
Sure. Well, Apple people like minimalistic stuff, so it's probably best.
Here is one. Unknown numbers. As we work to improve this feature, the first message from first-time senders will not sync. Well, that's weird.
Okay.
I never heard of this person. Okay. So my messages, they're here. I'm not going to show them because it has phone numbers, but that's cool. And calls. Let's see. Calls. Yep, calls. Calls are here too.
Mm-hmm.
This is, but not one of the things I really liked. There were several things I liked about the Android. One is I could see photos. Doesn't look like it can do that. Oh, look, though, I am seeing...
It doesn't do group messages.
Yeah. I'm seeing notifications. There's someone at my front door. My watch is charged. So, yeah, this is...
So it does it. So it's like send and receive text messages, make and receive phone calls, see contacts, and iPhone notifications.
So no apps. Can't run apps.
Yeah, so you can't do like... You
can't see my photos, which is
UI
too bad.
Of the phone.
Yeah.
And play with the phone on the screen. You can't stream an app. Which
so basically it's messages is what it is. It's notifications and messages. And
well, messages is kind of the final frontier when it comes to integrating with
that's
Apple,
a good point. Yeah, no, you're right.
So it's only partial, but it's better than nothing. I mean, that's
this is great, actually. Yeah, very happy. Yeah, that's better.
Remember that if you want to see your photos, you can install iCloud Photo Library.
Yeah. I can do it that way.
In the Photos app, right?
Right.
You can do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's the biggest bridge to cross, which is interoperability with Apple's iMessages. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. All right. So it works. You just saw me do it in live, in vitro setup. Let's see what else. Windows 10 version 21H2. Bye-bye.
So
bye-bye.
January 2015, Terry Myerson stood on a stage and said, our goal is to have as many people as possible on one version of Windows 10. And in June, they're going to achieve that because there will only be one supported version of Windows. That will be Windows 10 version 22H2, which will be the only supported version of Windows 10, not including LTSC. For normal people or whatever.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't do the radio show anymore. Oh my God. There's so many people on, 1809 and stuff.
Yeah.
And none of that's supported. It's all gone.
I love bringing up an old Windows 10 computer and just seeing the bizarre weirdness of, version, whatever
updates.
It was. Just
remember 1809.
Yep. And
what a day.
I'm so glad it's gone.
What a year.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, next June, I don't remember the exact date, but sometime in June is, I can just look, I guess. Support for 21H2 is ending June 13. That June 13 is Patch Tuesday, right? So that day is etched into my brain.
So if you're still using Windows 10,
you will be upgraded.
Get to 22H2.
Yep. No, they're going to manually upgrade you.
They're going to
you'll be at 22H2.
You will be.
They're really going to push Windows 11 on you if your computer is supported by Windows 11 too. Okay. Full screen ads.
So if you were using one of Steve Gibson's little apps like In Control, you might want to just let your computer know that you're no longer in control. Yeah. Microsoft is
right. It's coming for
nice try, but no.
Yeah. It's really not. any great reasons I can think of for someone to stick on an older version of Windows 10.
No.
I don't think there are big compatibility issues with any of those releases, or certainly not the past several. I don't remember 21H2 explicitly, but I would say the last 3 or 4 have been incredibly minor updates. 22H2 was a nothing burger. I mean, there was nothing there at all.
Yeah.
So going from 21H2 to 22H2 is what could go wrong? Come on, people.
Do it.
And we only need a couple more versions of Windows 11 before it basically does everything Windows does anyway.
Yeah, I think that's
We're almost
part of
there.
the plan. It's like you just kind of lose.
Wait a minute. Windows 11 does not yet do everything Windows 10 did?
Right.
Nope.
That's true.
Wait,
Mhm.
what?
For example, you can't move your taskbar to any side of the screen.
Right.
Oh, okay. But anything important?
Well,
I guess that's important.
Every
to
one
some
of these
people.
things is important to someone, which is
Yeah.
the problem, right? So, if it's important enough for a large group of someone's, like right-clicking the taskbar and getting to Task Manager, they'll add that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some evidence, by the way. They're working on moving the taskbar around. I don't think we're going to see some Windows 10 features like the ability to add toolbars to a taskbar, that kind of thing. But they're adding grouping and icon grouping in the taskbars coming sometime soon. There's other regressions. There's a lot. When Windows 11 first shipped, there were tons of them, right? And now they're slowly, hey, what's going on over there?
Right.
You can't see that.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
This is a family-friendly show. What are
It
you
wasn't
doing?
on camera, but I forgot that it's part of the Zoom. It's just my wife. It's all right. We're married. We can do that.
How dare you? Hi, Lisa.
Come on. Now that you're on camera, you so that they know what
It's too late now.
they know what they missed.
They know what I look
Just wanted to
like.
say hi. That's all.
I just had a quick question.
You have a question? What's your
No,
question?
no, for you.
Oh, for me. Oh, okay.
Don't worry about
Okay.
it. Go.
Sorry. My wife can't come in and give me a kiss during the show.
Well, she could. I would go off. I would switch the camera off if you want. Of course, we'd be able to see it though, not the people at home.
Yeah.
You people in our home audience. So getting a different version.
I didn't mean to break the fourth wall or whatever that was.
You broke the fourth wall, man. Everybody's saying hi, Lisa. Yeah. Continue. I'm sorry. Were you done with
I don't
whatever?
know. I have no idea what I was talking about. Yeah,
neither. We've all gone. We're a little just crazy here. I would like to do
We
an
don't like
ad.
girls in our club. I don't know.
I know. No girls allowed. Did you see the sign? Can't come in our treehouse.
Our show today is brought to you by CashFly, and when I say that, I say it and mean it quite literally, because CashFly is what we call a CDN. It's our CDN, content delivery network, and it's so important. It has been for more than a decade. When we first started Twit back in the aughts, I guess it was 2005, 2006. We're in our 18th year now. In the early days, it was like a website, and you would download for the website. That failed almost instantly. And I don't know if you remember, I was begging people. I was saying, could you please seed a BitTorrent for us? Because otherwise no one can download the show. That's when Matt Levine, one of the founders of CashFly, came to me and said, Leo, let me help. And the rest is history. We've been literally using CashFly. When you get the show, everywhere but YouTube, if you get it from our website, if you subscribe to the RSS feed, it's coming to you, video or audio, from CashFly. And I got to tell you, that's really important to us. It's kind of infrastructure maybe you don't see, but if it didn't work, you would sure know about it. We would sure know about it. And I have to say, in all this time, more than 12, 13 years, CashFly has been flawless. Video is important. Viewers are not going to wait around. If they come to the site, they press the play button and they have to buffer. It's not going to. They're not going to do it. Shoppers abandon carts on e-commerce sites that are slow. You've done it, I'm sure. You go, I don't care that much. Gamers will leave bad reviews if the latency is high. Paul does that all the time. Paul, little hint, it's not the latency, it's you. But if you're, going around like, aww. If you're playing your game and you come around a corner and you don't see what's around the corner until it's too late, that's not good. That's not good. That's why CashFly is so important to people who put out games, people with their websites and shopping carts, people like us podcasters. Customers these days now expect a flawless experience when they're engaging with your content on any device, anytime, anywhere in the world. CashFly has been doing this longer than almost anybody. Since 1999, they have had the track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery. That's more than 20 years. It's 24 years. CashFly was the first, for instance, to use TCP Anycast. That was back in 2002. That's an innovation other CDNs are just catching up with. Quality of experience, that's the metric, the single most important metric for us serving content for CashFly. If you're serving content simultaneously to a large distributed audience on a global scale, your delivery stack actually can be your secret weapon. With CashFly, you get ultra-low latency video streaming that can deliver to more than a million concurrent users. That's unbelievable. Lightning fast gaming that delivers downloads faster, gives you zero lag, glitches, or outages. Mobile content optimization that offers automatic and simple image optimization on your site so that your site loads faster on any device, whether it's a phone or a big old computer. CashFly is the only CDN built for throughput, and they specifically focus on delivering rich media content up to 10 times faster than traditional delivery methods. That certainly was the experience we had, up to 30% faster than their major CDNs. And I love CashFly because they work with you. When you first set up in fact, I would recommend you go right now to cashfly.com and do that. First, talk about, here's my usage. Here's what I'm worried about. They're very flexible. You could set up a contract that fits your needs. You'll never pay for service overlap again. You'll get flexible month-to-month billing as long as you need it. If you decide, okay, I think we got this now, you can get discounts for fixed terms once you understand and you're happy and they're happy. Design your own contract when you switch to CashFly. That was huge for us. With more than 3,500 clients, over 80 countries, they're all over the world, organizations consistently choose CashFly for scalability, reliability, unrivaled performance. And we know that because we've been using CashFly. Do you remember, were you even here, Lisa, when we started using CashFly? You were.
Yes.
So this was 2009, maybe?
I think it was 8.
2008. So 14 or 15 years. We love CashFly. You will too. Learn how you can get your first month free at cashfly.com. CACHEFLY. You've heard me say that a few times. Cashfly.com. All right. Back we go. I need to make out with my wife. So if you guys would just take over and do the show for a little bit.
Literally would have had my wife come in here and make out with me, but she's on a work call. So
And Richard, you got nothing but diamond merchants where you are.
Miles away. Yeah.
it was literally like so.
You were jealous, weren't you? That's hysterical. That's hysterical. Let's talk about AI and Bing Chat and all that.
Briefly. Well, this thing, Microsoft, what was it, February? It feels like a million years ago, but they've updated their Bing chat experience dozens and dozens of times. They've made it available inside different products, including Microsoft Edge, Skype, which we really don't talk too much about.
Nor should you.
Yep. But actually, in the early days when you had to get on a wait list, you could interact with the chatbot in Skype without waiting, like it was just available, So that was like an early way to kind of get in if you wanted to experience it. So the latest update is just a bunch of stuff. I mean, I don't know that this is like huge, but chat history, which is something people have been asking for. For example, when I use DALL-E, have it make images, obviously it saves all of the images it created. So in the same way, the chatbot will now save all the conversations.
Yeah, that's funny because that's something OpenAI chat has, ChatGPT has always done.
Yeah.
In fact, people complain they have a switch that says don't do that because of the privacy concerns, right?
I was going to say, I think a lot of the embarrassing questions we might ask an AI, we would like to.
I didn't realize Bing didn't do that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it didn't before, but they've said maybe not from the beginning, but from early on, that was an early bit of feedback. So they've added that. A richer chat experience, meaning now there's more visual search results that will occur in chat conversations. Those are going to be videos and graphics, graphs, et cetera. So that's all cool. To me, in some ways, the more interesting bit here is not this destination that is Bing.com, but rather that this functionality will be available wherever you are, right? So They're adding Bing chatbot capabilities to SwiftKey, which is their virtual keyboard in iOS and Android. They've added it already to Edge on the desktop. They're adding more of it to Edge on mobile, and then also to they're enhancing the capabilities in Skype. So, for example, if you go into Skype today, you'll have to add it, but it will ask you if you want to add the Bing AI as a user, like a fake user. You can now interact with the Bing chatbot in group chats. So it could be two or more human beings all asking questions of the same chatbot. So that's kind of cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if
And
you
then-
were chatting to each other in that context. Is the chatbot
Yeah.
going to intercede every so often? Maybe it's the mediator.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get this thing to interrupt. So it's like, guys, don't argue. You're both wrong.
Yeah. And what does it do when you say, "Hey, I wasn't talking to you"?
Right. I don't know. Well, probably the same way that, like, Siri or the Google Assistant. I most of my interactions with those things are me telling it to shut up. I wasn't talking to you. And you don't have to be rude about it. That kind of thing. So Bing is probably used to this kind of behavior. So I'm sure they'll be okay with it. And then just before we started the show, Microsoft announced that they're removing the wait list. I'm sorry, that's not what that is. I'm sorry. They announced rather that they are allowing unauthenticated chat access on Bing, at Bing.com, meaning you don't have to sign in to your Microsoft account. So this is semi-similar to what they did with the widgets in Windows 11, right? You can now access it without having to sign in with a Microsoft account.
I'm
There are
a little
limitations.
surprised that they did that.
Yeah, I think this is about, well, okay, I'm going to be cynical. I think this is about keeping the user uptick going.
Right.
I think a lot of people
being able to say the largest market share number you can say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at this thing and say, "Oh, yeah, I heard about this in the news. It's everywhere, but I had a Microsoft account." Like,
I'm not doing that. That's crazy talk.
So
maybe that's literally experiment. Will it make a difference?
Yep.
I'm not convinced that it would. And I suspect if you compared the quality of the messaging to the unsigned in versus the signed in, you'd see a difference.
It could be. They're going to limit you. I mean, you can only have 5 chats per session, for example. I think that Bing chatbot had some limitation like that at the very, very beginning.
Very quickly on, because of the cache overflow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this might part of it. I don't know if they're using these. They must be using these conversations to kind of feed the demon and see what the feedback looks like and all that stuff. So it's helpful for that. But I really think a lot of this is about keeping momentum going.
Really, this is squeezing the lemon for every drop you can.
Exactly. Yep, exactly right.
I do have some shows coming up soon that are very much about how these bots were made and just how much labor went into them to train them.
Right.
Should we talk about antitrust? Because antitrust is fun.
Yeah, this week in antitrust, we'll talk about Microsoft's antitrust victory later in the show. But there was also the beginning of a defeat. We know that the EU is investigating Teams integration with the Office suite, Microsoft 365.
This is over the Slack complaint.
Yep, that's right. And then unrelated to that, actually several complaints from EU-based cloud providers.
There are
OVH
some?
Cloud, Aruba. I know there are some. Nextcloud, and now something called. Nope, that's not the name of it. Never mind. And then an industry group called CISPE, CISPE, which is tied to Amazon AWS. In case you thought this was completely on the up and up.
Odd.
Has complained about Azure and believing that Microsoft is growing share in Europe at the expense of local companies and blah 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 whatever. So
I mean,
this
is
is
a better product.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I don't know anything about these products, but I would trust Microsoft Azure before I would, trust something called Aruba. But
Aruba's been around a long time, but they were a networking services company most of the time. So apparently they have a cloud product now. And my first instinct would say, well, how many data centers should they have? Like, what redundancy are they going to give
3.
me?
Oh, really?
What localization are they going to give me? Like, these are the questions, right? And I've not thought more than a market for 3 worldwide cloud providers ever, really.
Right.
Just because why? The whole point of cloud is scale, and more to make it better. especially, the dangerous part here is, are you going to convince the EU that offering more than virtual machines in the cloud is anti-competitive?
Yep.
You never know with the EU, do you? That's the funny
I know.
thing, right?
I know.
Yeah. And this
Well,
idea
I'll
that it's
say,
an
look,
informal inquiry, I love that term. We're just
that's the thing.
asking.
We're asking questions. We're not.
That's not
That's
a
how
big
it
deal.
always
charging anyone
starts,
with
isn't
anything.
it? That's how it starts.
Just asking.
It's a little,
Given
it's Columbo,
given the,
right? One more
Yeah,
question.
yeah, exactly.
I got one more
Yeah.
question.
Right, before you leave, here's the real question. Given the regulatory climate and the way Microsoft has worked with regulators in the EU, but other things which we'll talk about later, I suspect that the company will work proactively to answer these concerns and offer some level of integration with these companies. Do something to, because I don't know that they can just say, "Hey, look, we can't do business here." Obviously, is not the answer. So.
Do you think that initially companies, when they heard this, were kind of like standoffish, but now seeing how aggressive the EU has been, Microsoft certainly has learned a lesson, right? They're going to be, much more anxious about, giving them some outs. And of course, look what they did for the Activision thing, and that didn't help in the UK.
Yeah, but so that's the thing, though. No one from the EU complained about the Activision Blizzard.
In fact, the EU just said, "Go ahead," right? Didn't they?
Right. We'll get to this, but
but nobody complained in the UK either. Those guys.
Even the other
way
cloud
the EU
gaming
works,
guys said, "No, we don't have a problem."
No. Well, right, but in this case, companies did complain. So think about some of the big EU cases, right? The Intel thing, which was complaints from AMD, the Spotify case against Apple. Right. The way these things start is some company with EU assets or based in the EU will go to the European Commission and say, "Hey, this gigantic U.S. company, it's always U.S. company, is beating us up. They're behaving unfairly, illegally. We think we should investigate."
Right.
And they do this little informal thing, and then they do a formal thing, and then they declare that they're guilty of something, and then there's it takes years and years and years, but the getting from complaint to investigation, a pretty low bar in the EU, it seems to me.
So this was
that's the way I think.
Because I would say the cloud market is pretty competitive between Microsoft, Amazon, which is number one.
But they don't care about those companies.
And
they
Google.
don't care about those companies. They care about these little EU guys.
This was
right?
OVH Cloud, Aruba, which is that Aruba Networks? Aruba, and Nextcloud, which is weird because that used to be kind of an open source cloud, and I guess they've kind of gone into business. And then an industry group tied to AWS.
Which should send up some warning flags, frankly.
Because AWS is dominant. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Investigate them.
So, but here we are. It's May. So these guys complained in November. They were the fourth group, the other three companies to complain, and they're acting. In this one way, the EU can move pretty quick. It's really from here on out, it gets into a slog. But I really feel, first of all, what this complaint as written is very vague to me. It says Microsoft is abusing its access to business sensitive information belonging to cloud firms it has commercial dealings with. In other words, Microsoft is partnering with these companies. EU antitrust enforcers want to know whether Microsoft then leverages that confidential information to compete with cloud service providers. Okay. So this is kind of a classic business dealing issue, I think this gets solved by Microsoft promising to never do that again. Not that we ever did it in the first place. And
they certainly were accused of it, in the 90s with Embrace. What was it? Embrace and Devour. So it's funny. Apple's recently been accused of the same thing. Wall Street Journal had an article about Apple does this.
I just said this to Brad today. This is how Microsoft has come full circle. This is when you'll know, and you guys will both appreciate this. Microsoft, in many ways, is acting like it did in the 90s, right? It's this abusive monopolist. It's been beating up on its competitors, et cetera. The final stroke here will be when it is uncovered that Microsoft has created secret APIs only it can use that it does not allow its competitors to access whatever it is, Windows or Azure or Microsoft 360, whatever it might be, right? Like it's like we are literally rewriting the original Microsoft playbook. That's how you'll know. That's how you know it's just we're back. So we'll see. But
and it's not a dusting off. It's totally new people finding new ways.
That's what I mean. Right, exactly.
We're back, baby.
Someone found a little black book in a desk, and they were like, "Guys, look at this.
This is secret plan for world domination.
It ain't done until Lotus don't run." I don't know what Lotus is, but we should do that.
We should do that. That's hysterical.
I don't know what Lotus is, but I think we
never
should
heard of that. But that's a good
Are they
idea.
dead? Oh, they're dead already. Never mind. Yeah. So we'll see, but very interesting. Okay, and then blah 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 blah. Oh, I already talked about this. So this is already. I don't know why I stuck it here exactly, but Google marketing AI during Google I/O is very much like what we've seen with the cloud of Microsoft in the past, and I think we're going to see again with AI at Microsoft Build. Although I have great hope that we're going to see. I just don't imagine
the keynotes being that different, right? Like Google keynote, the Build keynote.
Oh, you'll be able to make the same video, except this time it will be Microsoft people saying AI.
Yeah, the supercuts are always fun. AI. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, there's already a Google.
I would like a little credit for my headline about this, though. AI, I/O. Come on, anybody? That was pretty good.
AI. It's off to work I go.
AI.
It's off to I/O I go.
It's off to I/O I go.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go to the developer section of the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we already talked about the first Rust code showing up in the Windows kernel. So sometime fairly recently, there was a Microsoft security conference in Israel. I think we might have talked about this last week. And he was saying, sometime soon it's going to show up. So Mark Rozinovich tweeted, "Hey, it's here. It's in some version of the Insider Preview program. It's not in stable yet, and it's very small bits of it, right? So, but the system files that have Rust code in it will be noted by the _RS.
Actually, I love it that it's Win32. If anything needed to be rewritten in Rust, it's that.
Well, they're not going to rewrite the entire Win32 API, but although by the way, there are third parties working on that exact
and
thing.
Full.
And,
that's
yeah.
Wow.
That's just little bits of it. But,
okay. Yeah, because look,
they'll get there.
The full base is 3.4 megabytes, and the Rust code is 110 kilobytes.
Was it David Weston? I think was the guy from Microsoft who did that talk. If you go back and watch that video, which I do recommend, the part about Rust, which is near the end, he was comparing two things: KLOCs, which is a term I've not heard since IBM in the 90s. Thousands of lines of code, right? Mm-hmm. And also just sheer code size.
KLOC, I get it. Okay.
KLOCs, right?
KLOCs,
you don't. That's an old term. But and IBM used to give promotions based on KLOC, right?
Terrible.
That was their deal. Like you had to create more code. It's
terrible.
the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but he was talking about KLOCs, and he was saying that
it explains though Java, by the way.
Right. Well, even look at whenever you thought about Microsoft in the early 1990s was like, no, the goal is not to write more lines of code. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Even that company at that time knew that was bad. But the point of this is, when you look at adding Rust to the Windows kernel, to anything, the goals are multifold. Like one of the things you're looking at are multifold. Like, first of all, does it run at the same speed or better, right? That's got to, you don't want it to be more secure and a lot slower. So apparently Rust runs full speed is great. How much more code does it require to do the same thing? Actually, there is more Rust code. I don't remember the exact number. It's in his talk somewhere, but somewhere between 20% more lines of code. That was why KLOC came up. The Rust equivalent of the C/C++ APIs, they are in fact bigger.
Yeah, because Rust has a lot of static typing and memory information and
So some people look at this, well, and I don't mean your comparison, but I mean some people have said like the bit of it that they've done over in Rust is like smaller than the version that was in C, but it's
maybe when it's compiled, there's not necessarily a correlation between lines of code and compiled size. Right. A lot of that lines of code stuff is just hints to the compiler,
Yep, exactly. Yep, and that I was going to say that less eloquently, but yes, that is basically what I was getting at. Is that there are more lines of source code, but the file sizes tend to be smaller.
Right.
So
right.
That's good.
I know you'll be talking about this with Mark.
I wonder about the politics of this inside of Microsoft. Absolutely. how do you get new developers onto Windows?
Yeah.
How do you get the old developers to modernize?
Right.
Like bringing a new language in is a great piece of pressure.
I remember
almost guaranteed it's going to be young developers that are using it.
I remember at Google I/O about 5 or 6 years ago when they announced, and we're going to give full support to Kotlin, and there was practically a standing ovation.
Oh, because Java.
But developers, especially young new developers, are thrilled about Rust. This is absolutely, from their point of view, the right way to go. And actually, as a user of Windows, I think it's the right way to go. It's going to be more memory hardened, memory safe. This is a good thing. It means fewer exploits.
And I'm sure we talked about this whenever that was last week, probably, but it's not like they're going to rewrite the entire kernel over. But
I would
but
love
you can
that,
certainly look
but-
at it.
Right.
I would too. But let's be realistic. But you could look at this source code base and say, look, where are the obvious attack surfaces, like the most common?
Well,
problems that we might
Win32
have?
is a very good place to start.
Well, I was going more for like buffer overflow, memory attacks, or whatever.
But
But
that's the problem. Win32 is full of that crap, and many
let me help you with
venture.
that sentence. Win32 is full of crap. Yes, for sure.
Because that's the oldest part of the code base, isn't it, or among the oldest parts?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's worse than that.
But
because
what a great
Win32
opportunity to rehabilitate.
Exactly.
Microsoft had an opportunity in 1993 to write a modern API for the then new NT system, and instead of doing that, said, you know what, we're going to make it easy on the people using the Windows
Legacy.
API in 16-bit.
Legacy.
We're just going to bring it all forward and make a couple of change a couple of integer sizes or whatever. And it was, I guess I get it, but it was a huge mistake, and they've been paying for it ever since. They should have modernized it then, and they would have still had to do it later again. But we're stuck with code that was created in the mid 1980s. This is really old stuff.
This has historically been the big problem.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those guys get to retire now because his new post taking it over.
They can go to the golf course with the COBOL developers. I imagine this will be a big part of your conversation with Mark Russinovich tomorrow, next Wednesday when you talk to him.
Quite possibly. I mean, there's a lot of directions to go in there. Mark's heavily immersed in Azure.
That's true.
There's tons of important things to talk about. And we only get half an hour together.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you may have a better understanding of this, but the core of Windows is based on the core of Azure, sort of like that core team is a team. It's not two teams, right? I mean, so it's possible that a lot of this kernel work they're doing in Windows, as we think of it, will also benefit Azure.
Maybe that's exactly why they're introducing Rust, because this will be code that's going to run inside of
Yeah.
Azure, where it's going to be attacked in a different way.
He would know that. He would know, I mean, obviously he's the CTO of Azure, but he would, that's may explain why he even tweeted about it occurring. I mean, I know, I'm sure he keeps a foot in that world, but this is probably benefiting Azure as well.
Yeah, no, he was definitely the catalyst for Rust inside of Microsoft too. He brought it up ages ago.
You know what his best? So I told you, I've told people stories about Mark over the years, but one of my favorite stories about him was that he told me, and this was years ago. We were at some industry event. We were just walking around, and he was telling me about how he had gone to the Linux community early on and said, look, you have all these problems in your kernel and you got to fix them because you're going to run into scalability issues. And he gave him a list of like 20 things that were wrong with it. And they told him to go F himself, and they didn't need a guy from Microsoft. This is back in the Linux is a cancer day still. And they wanted nothing to do with this guy. And then he said, and then they literally implemented every single one of my recommendations over the next 2 Linux kernel versions. I was like, nice. Just a smart guy. Yeah. No, we don't need your help, buddy. Thanks. Like, all right, everyone got the list. All right, let's implement this.
There is a great section in this Steve Jobs book, Make Something Wonderful, a exchange of emails between Steve when he was at Next and Intel. An Intel engineer who's in charge of the graphics code in the microcode in the processor. This is back in the mid 90s. Said, hey, we would love to talk to you because you've got a lot of graphics knowledge over there at Next. We would love to talk to you and get some input as we design this chip. And Steve says, well, yeah, good idea, but how much are you going to pay me for our proprietary knowledge, which was hard earned? And it goes back and forth. And the guy says, finally, the Intel engineer says, well, okay, fine. We're not going to pay you for this. We just thought you might want to help the world. And then
you
Andy,
know, like you talk about so much.
yeah, and then Andy Grove writes to Steve. This is really a great exchange. I would read the whole thing as it was very long, but he writes to Steve and says, "Hey, Steve, you know, when you asked me, you know, I volunteered information to help you with Next. We're just asking, and I understand it's not as valuable perhaps as the graphics code, but we're just, you know, we feel like it's good for the computing world if you would just share this information with us." To which Steve replies, "You're right. I've changed my mind 180 degrees. Have your engineer call me. I'll tell him whatever he wants."
Wow.
Which is amazing. It's not the Steve Jobs we think of. It's a great.
Well, but it took someone like Andy Grove.
Yeah, Andy
industry
had to
legend,
and guilt him and say, "Steve, I helped you.
I didn't survive the Holocaust, so I could deal with you, idiot.
Yeah.
Could you just, you know?"
He says the final email from Steve Jobs to Andy Grove. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Says, "Andy, I have many faults, but one of them is not ingratitude, and I do agree with you that in the long run these things balance out. Therefore, I have changed my position 180 degrees. This is October 1995. And we will freely help the engineer make his processors much better for 3D graphics. Have him call me. I'll arrange for a meeting as soon as appropriate technical
info." And then it ended up as WinG for Windows 95.
I shouldn't say Next. It was Pixar. He also was running Pixar at the time. Okay. And Pixar did, in fact, have a lot of hardware that they were making, graphics hardware.
Right.
So what a great exchange. I mean, it's several pages in this book.
Next step could have been the UI for, I don't know if it would have been OS2, but for IBM had licensed it. They actually paid to license it and never used it.
Right.
But
Pink.
they that could have happened.
Yeah. Remember Pink? That was the Apple IBM collaboration.
Motorola, right? Or
I can't remember who else was. This is this book.
Track of these names. What was the name of those? They were companies.
Transmeta. You're talking about Transmeta.
No, not Transmeta. No, not Transmeta.
Oh,
Transmeta was the CPU company that Linux Torvalds worked for.
I don't remember.
I know.
Yeah, somebody's asking, what's the book? Make Something Wonderful, Steve Jobs in His Own World. This is the Steve Jobs Archive, which is online, just released this. And thank you very much again to Jameson, who loves Windows Weekly, but sent me this book. So there you go. Go figure. All right.
Taligent.
Thank you. That's who's doing Pink, right? Taligent.
But there was another one too. I'm losing track of.
But Taligent was the IBM Apple.
Was the OS thing?
Yeah. You've got a good memory for the good old days.
I'm losing it.
Isn't it amazing now that's ancient? That's basically ancient history.
Ancient history.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, truly.
I think the stuff that didn't happen is in many ways more fascinating than the stuff that did. The direct, like that Next Step thing I mentioned. Next Step, IBM could have adopted Next Step, and I guess we'll just put it in OS2. I don't remember the exact plan, and that might have changed things.
Yeah.
Taligent was a joint venture. IBM and Apple, 1992. HP announced 2 years later it would buy a 15% stake in it. Tal OS was to be based on Apple's object-oriented operating system codenamed Pink, but later disbanded.
Right.
Company dissolved 5 years later. There's so many stories like that in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
I think, Paul, as you and I get older, that's going to be our role, sort of, in the world, is to contextualize what we're seeing today.
I thought you meant just sitting on a porch and saying, remember when
Checkers over the pickle barrel. Yeah.
You kids don't understand.
Yeah. All right. What else? Any other developer news?
Yes. So it's kind of came out of nowhere, but Microsoft just announced that they're going to be making a visual refresh for Visual Studio, their kind of core IDE. It's the first time they've done a change this big since 2012.
Really,
Richard,
2015, I would argue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the all caps version of Visual Studio?
We're not going to talk about that.
Wait a minute. Variables had to be all caps?
No, the menus.
The menus are all caps. Oh, my gosh.
Because it was kind of like the Windows 8 style, I guess. I think that was the point. It was awful.
Yeah.
Stupid. I think that only lasted one version.
That meant they were able to make a Studio 2013 where they took it back out again.
Yeah. But which, by the way, I'm sure got a standing ovation as well.
Absolutely.
So the funny thing about the visual refresh here is if you look at the images, and they put up a bunch of images like this is what we're thinking, and we just want to get some feedback, You run into some interesting issues where you want to add padding, more white space to make it more attractive, but also this is a developer tool. You don't want it to stretch off the edge of the screen, and people complain about stuff like that. I don't think it looks that different, frankly. I didn't see any major.
It's very minor, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I think that's all you can do to something like Visual Studio.
I had a developer friend of mine send me that blog post and go, "Why is this a post?"
I know.
Like, I think if you did the change, nobody would have known.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The guys who use Visual Studio are very particular.
And just watch what happens when you make their menus all uppercase.
It was the craziest. Oh boy. Everything had to be Fisher Price with Windows 8. That was the that was the marching orders. And then we talked a little bit about Build 2023 earlier, I think, on air. If not, go to mybuild.microsoft.com, sign in, register if you haven't. And you can look at all the sessions. And one of the neat things you can do is kind of put some aside. I don't know why they do it this way, but the language they use is a backpack. So you can add sessions to your backpack. I'd like to just add them to my calendar, but whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't have to watch them live. They'll all be available online later as well. But there's some interesting stuff. I think Leo mentioned the keynote or keynotes that will happen. There's a session on day 2 with Panos and a bunch of people about Microsoft 365/Windows, which I think is interesting. Lots of Windows content. In fact, I found more Windows content I wanted to see in this show than I found .NET 8 content, which was kind of surprising to me.
Well, .NET 8's not till the fall, so there's not that much.
Well, but this is the time to kind of, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know why their whole marketing campaign wasn't, hey, like ChatGPT, you can make one for your company. Because those talks are in there. And I'm very interested to see, well, what are you talking about? How much data am I going to need? Yeah, make a private Copilot.
Yeah. I'm hoping just to make a Thurrott Copilot that just makes fun of you when you talk to it and is kind of brutal like I am. I think that would be fun. Something, I don't know. So anyway, that's something. So we're going to be talking a lot about Build next week. And then probably the week after too, because some of this stuff we might not know everything as of Wednesday, but the big keynote is Wednesday right before the show. So prepare for that.
And we'll broadcast it Tuesday and Wednesday right before our shows. I'm very excited about this.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope I don't get let down, Paul.
I didn't suggest
I hope
you told me you were doing it.
I won't be disappointed in you, Paul.
Listen, if there's anything I can guarantee, you will eventually be disappointed by me.
I'll prep a few flora and fauna whiskey conversations.
There you go.
If we get to the end of the keynote and we have no Windows Weekly because I don't know, then we could talk whiskey for an
whiskey
hour.
Would be good.
It would just be like an hour of each of us going, guys, listen.
And I hope it's okay, Richard, but I have instructed our editors to take all of those whiskey segments and put them out individually. I think there are 9 of them, something like that, and put them out individually on 8 on YouTube.
8 for the Scottish whiskey.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's going to be an ongoing YouTube series.
Like a series, yeah. I think that's a great idea.
So that'll be on our regular Twit feed, which is youtube.com/twit.
Awesome. That's
sometime
really
soon.
fun.
I hope that's okay
that.
with you.
I can't listen.
They're so good.
I'm sure I've said this, but I literally have to drink whiskey on Wednesday nights now. Thank you for that. And my wife and I walk every morning, and I literally tell her something about whiskey that I learned from you. It's ridiculous. But, anyway.
Richard says that peaty flavor was an accident.
It's like anything else in life. Like if you find a guy who's really good as an electrician, you hold on to that person.
You bet.
You always call them back.
Yes.
Or you have people you trust about certain things, whatever it is. I mean, Richard is a go-to guy for a lot of things, but one of them is definitely whiskey.
Oh, everything I know about whiskey I've learned from Richard. I mean, not even just from that series, but from going way back.
Oh my God. The first time he appeared probably on the show, the live event, which was probably a build.
Yeah.
I think Carl might have been there as well. Mary Jo was there for sure.
Yeah. And then you guys came in studio and we had a tasting.
We had Abelor, and I had it for
the first time I had Abelor.
I have been buying that regularly ever since that show. So whatever that was, I have been a regular customer of Abelor.
And I've been drinking Angel's Envy ever since.
See?
Yeah. Really awesome. So thank you. We appreciate it, Richard.
You're welcome. I'll admit, I get a message or two each week asking about a whiskey of some kind.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like,
Yeah.
what should I have $200 to spend for my friend? What do you think?
By the way, speaking
thing.
of Mary Jo, I did ask her if she would join us for either one of those
Yeah.
keynotes, and she said she's going to be so busy writing it up for her new job that she won't be able to. What is it?
For directions.
What?
Yeah.
Directions on
Directions on
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Yeah. So yeah, she's an analyst now, and so
She's better than us, Leo, I think is what she's trying to say. It's
I think
okay.
she's
It's
right.
okay.
I think that's been clear from day one.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with that.
I kind of was
I
hoping.
think she always kind of has been, really.
Yeah. Directions on Microsoft.com. She will have.
So if you go to the blog, which is probably that URL/blog, she writes the blog up there.
Yeah. Well, she's their editor in chief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's the boss. She does the briefings and all of that.
Yeah.
There she is. Look at that. Yeah. By the way, that's a picture in the Twit Studios.
That's from Windows Weekly. That's a Windows Weekly live event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Microsoft.
It is. That's okay. And there's the blog. Mary Jo Foley delivers early intelligence on new developments in Microsoft Enterprise IT. We miss you, Mary Jo. We wanted to get you on the keynote, but I understand she's busy. We'll get her on the show.
Yeah, we'll do something.
You guys still have a great relationship, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're thrilled, as
sooner or
Jameson
later,
said.
she's going to have something to promote, and she's going to want to be everywhere.
Exactly.
I'll have her on run.
She'll come crawling back like they always do.
If she would just write a
Put 'em on
book, we'd have
WW.
an in.
Listen, Leo, I did everything I could to get her to write another
You did
book.
everything you could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am now realizing, I've been looking around, this book, Make Something Wonderful, Steve Jobs in his own words, is an ebook is available for free on the website,
That's right.
the Steve Jobs Archive, but they never sold a printed copy. They printed
so actually,
something like
I guess
100 for friends and family. So Jameson, I am now even more in your...
So actually, people have been printing them, and I believe they've been trying to shut that down.
I think this is what was distributed. And I'm thinking Jameson is probably some
then that's
fancy
probably
person.
A collector's edition. You should probably never give away. But although I felt like that was for the three of us, so I don't know. Do I get it for like the first quarter of the year?
You're Windows people. We can share it. I'll we'll do it like a library book. I'll put a little thing in the back, and no, it's really no. This is actually a Polaroid embossed onto the cover.
Oh, okay.
They're
So
selling
that's
on
not quality,
eBay
then.
for like $1,000.
Oh, maybe that's what they were trying to shut down.
Holy
People were
man.
selling them on eBay. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jameson. Now I'm really verklempt, as it were.
Yeah. It's nice.
Now, in order to take that sad taste out of my mouth, let's talk Xbox. What do you say?
Yes. So the EU, as expected, has approved Microsoft's $68 or $69 billion Activision Blizzard acquisition, depending on, I guess, who you ask. Just after the UK said, I don't think so.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's crazy. They did make some concessions that, interestingly, were based on the cloud computing, the cloud gaming stuff, right?
Interesting.
So they have accepted a requirement that they automatically license popular, I'm sure there's a definition of what that means, Activision Blizzard games to competing cloud gaming services, right? Microsoft said that not only are they going to do that, but that agreement will apply globally. We're going to do this everywhere, which is kind of a neat thing. Like, it bugs me that the UK can unilaterally decide for the entire planet that this deal can't go through, but Microsoft can on the flip side. When someone says, hey, we have this requirement of you here, they'll say, yeah, we'll do this everywhere. So this decision, this is in a way that kind of thing can benefit the rest of the world, even though the EU doesn't have any legal sway over the United States or Asia or wherever else. So that's cool. Of course, we still have the US FTC to deal with. And then Microsoft is appealing the CMA decision, the UK decision. So and barring some miracle, Microsoft's fiscal year ends in about 5 or 6 weeks. And if they don't complete this transaction before then, I think they're on the hook for $3 billion in fines or $3 billion in payments.
Yeah,
to Activision.
So what do you think the EU deciding helps Microsoft with these other regulators like the FTC.
Yeah.
The administrative judge will say,
Sure.
"Oh, well."
Yeah.
I think the EU is
UK,
the
maybe.
most influential of all of these regulators, honestly.
Yeah. The EU and the FTC. Like, if the FTC
Yeah, but
had
the
already
FTC,
said yes at this
sorry,
point.
what I meant by that was the FTC is absolutely as, if not more important, but the FTC has been a little more shy about this kind of thing. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I know under the current administration, they're going after big tech and all that stuff, but historically, the FTC has been kind of quiet. You know, this is the agency that passed on going after Microsoft in the 1990s. And then the DOJ was like, guys, what are you doing? And I think that was a close call. I think it was like a 3-2 vote or something like that. But the EU will pick up anything. All you got to do is write them a letter.
Well,
They'll investigate anybody.
At the same time they're approving this, are also, opening discussions around cloud.
That's
It's not, they're an active group.
Lawsuit. Yeah.
Letting stuff, they got their agreement. They went ahead with that one. They're not sure this one, though the conversation's going on. I mean, it does make the CMA look more foolish, but the CMA was already pretty foolish.
Not that they needed any help. And by the way, as soon as the EU announced this, the CMA from the UK published a series of tweets that basically amounted to no, I'm sorry. Amounted to hey, we know these guys said it was okay, but we stand by our decision. Blah blah blah, whatever.
I mean, doesn't Microsoft have the option to just withdraw games from the UK?
There's some complex issue there. I mean, I would.
I can't imagine them doing it. It's all ridiculous.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. But there was one of the things the CMA raised. They said, Microsoft's proposal, which were accepted, would allow Microsoft to set the terms and conditions for this market for the next day. What? Wait, what? That's not what they do. You're actually just forcing this company to bring their games to other competing services. That doesn't set the terms and conditions for the market. It prevents them from setting the terms and conditions for the market. I find that to be the logic here escapes me because there is no logic here, but
right.
We'll see what happens. I feel like Microsoft will be successful when they appeal the FTC ruling. The CMA, I don't really have any insight into that, but based on what's happening out in the world, I would be shocked if they didn't win that one on merit, but I guess we'll see. Idiots. Anyhow.
Idiots.
Stupid idiot. So it's the middle of the month, and we have more games for Xbox Game Pass across all the platforms. FIFA 2023 is probably the big one there. There's something called Planet of Lana, which looks like it's kind of a fun, kind of a puzzle adventure game, not cartoony, but kind of Pixar-ish kind of looking thing that looks pretty cool. And of course, Railway Empire 2, am I right? I'm going to rebuild the Makunji
It's about
train
time.
station.
It's about time.
All over it. Yeah. It's big.
So there's a bunch of stuff. And it goes through the end of the month. So I'm imagining this is probably
Wait a minute. You didn't mention cassette beasts?
I did not.
I don't know what that is, but
I don't either.
That's got to be an interesting game.
Some weird stuff in here.
Yeah.
This is the way this always is.
Right.
I'm shocked by how many games I've never heard of, like ever.
You mean you don't know about Chicory, A Colorful Tale?
Boy, I've been just trying to get through Halo Infinite lately. I'm kind of nose down here.
I am playing a hot new game, very excited, on Steam. Available on Windows if you'd like to play it yourself, called Timberborn. In it, you play a beaver, and you build dams. There's no enemies, which is, I like it, and
it's like Game of Thrones with beavers.
But with beavers, yes. You're just building dams and things and chopping down the forest. It's a good life.
Huh.
Life is
So it's like a beaver simulator.
It's a beaver simulator, yes.
It's interesting.
Like a sergeant turned me onto it. It's good. It's fun.
I've never heard of it.
No, I know. It's an early release. It's my kind of game. It's really like Age of Empires with beavers, basically.
And I'm still battling Kerbal Space Program 2.
Yeah, there's a great program. That's a great program.
I did not put this in the notes, but it's Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. The Return of Rome is actually available now across Xbox Series XS, Xbox Cloud Gaming, Steam, and Windows PC.
One of my all-time favorite games.
Okay. Cool. All right. Oh yeah. So apparently everyone's doing a Windows handheld gaming machine now, which is it's kind of cool. I don't have no issues with that. So Asus has announced their ROG Ally. Did we talk about this? Ally.
Ally.
I think so.
Ally.
Yeah, we
Probably
did talk
Ally.
about this last week. Yeah.
Oh, we did. Then
Yeah.
we'll skip right over that. There you go. Good.
I mean,
I'm like,
it's
I feel like we had
interesting
one of these last week. There's already another one.
because Steam Deck is running Linux.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what's interesting about the Asus is
That's right.
it's a Windows device. So,
Yeah, and there were I don't know, I guess leaked designs of a kind of a Windows 11 UI that would flip on only when you're on such a device, which kind of like when you detach a keyboard from a tablet, it kind of switches the
Oh,
mode.
that's interesting.
And one of the potential UIs is you just have the Xbox app as the UI, and then you run your games.
It's also
Yeah.
of interest because it's running an AMD processor and apparently quite performant. It's on the Ryzen Z1, so that's interesting.
Also notice the 7-inch screen because back in 2014, our friend Satya told us is you were running a Windows on a device with 9 inches or smaller.
Oh,
Windows
free.
was free.
Oh, is it still?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I
That's
mean, that
interesting.
was, technically that was Windows 10. I don't know if anything changed. You don't really hear about stuff like this anymore. But
Yeah.
now with these new devices, maybe you will.
Yeah.
It would certainly behoove Microsoft to get Windows on as many of these devices as possible.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed because one of the things that the Steam Deck did is it made a lot of games work on Linux that never did before.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, but
That's
this
great.
way you get
That's just
access
good
to
work.
all of the games, because
you
Windows
can-
is the default, platform.
You can install Windows on the Steam Deck, right? Don't they allow
Yeah,
that
I
now?
think so. Yeah,
You have all the drivers and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to pay for it, I guess, but
I'm not sure you'd want to, but
no, right. I think you would lose.
it's really
I'm
designed.
not even sure.
you
I'm
know,
not
it's
sure.
kind
I
of
was
a
going to say you'd lose
purpose-built.
performance and battery life, but I'm
Right.
actually not sure.
I don't know either.
I don't want to say that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Look at that; they have to have a heat pipe to keep
Yeah.
the AMD processor.
Oh, you're
from
not blasting this
melting
to
your
external
hands.
display, are you? You might want to take your hands off of it. We have special gamer gloves.
Fireproof gamer gloves.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Plug in a controller and get as far away from that thing as you can. That's perfect.
It's interesting. The
That's crazy.
timing's interesting because the hottest game now is a Switch exclusive. Is Zelda: The Tears of the Kingdom,
Right.
and it is.
Right.
They sold in the first 3 days 10 million copies.
Sure.
So
It's good to be the king.
Oofta.
I will never understand why Nintendo, especially, but I'll add Sony and Microsoft to this list as well, have not made a major mobile gaming push. And the way Nintendo could protect themselves is to just put their old stuff on there. Are you telling me that their NES games, the top 10 or 20, would not sell in the millions?
Oh God, yeah.
I would buy those games right now just to play the original Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers 2, 3.
They briefly did a little experiment with Apple.
Yeah, but it was just it was a
wasn't-
unique game.
It was yeah. It
They
wasn't
just
a-
did Super Mario.
Yeah.
They did a special version of it. No, I'm talking about bring the actual
Bring
games.
the games. Why not?
Bring the. Oh my God, that would be so successful.
You know what? I'm going to guess it's Apple's 30% they don't like.
Okay, actually, that could be.
And since
That could
Apple
be,
is
but you know
probably
what?
going to have to cave on that in the EU at least.
Yeah,
Maybe that would
Apple-
be interesting if Nintendo offered it in the EU only as a side
Apple has
load.
special deals though with certain companies where they
True.
lower that price.
It would be-
and
could be 15,
Nintendo and
yeah.
Apple kind of imagine if they were Apple Arcade
Yeah.
games for some amount of time first or something. I mean, it's crazy to me they don't do this. It's just money on the table. Stupid.
I don't think Nintendo's struggling making money.
No, I know that's true.
No.
No, I hear you.
And
but
it sells their Switch, right? Because you have to have a
Yeah.
Switch. So
Well, they're going
Although
to
Switch
announce a
sales
new
have
console
dropped.
as soon as this year.
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's
Switch
gonna
sales
be
are
changing.
tumbling, as we talked about last
Well,
week.
I would say slowed.
Slow.
They were
Right,
crazy
right.
high.
Tumbling is not the word.
Microsoft would still give up Windows if they could get that kind of sale.
Yeah.
On,
Surface. Yeah.
oh, Surface? No, Surface is gone. Can we have the Nintendo Switch sales, please? Yeah. We never did Surface. We're sorry about Surface.
Service. What's that?
We'll,
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
We'll gift wrap Penos for you. You can have them.
Exactly.
You take
He
Panos.
loves Japan. He's
we'll
really
take
into that
Miyamoto
whole.
and just call it even. Yeah.
Yep. He's
Yeah,
going to live in a
we could.
building with paper
Give us
walls.
Shiguro. That's all we ask. We are going to do the back of the book, which may or may not include some whiskey.
Will.
It will. But first, I just want to do. I call this handing out the begging bowl. Just a plug, because I know some of you who are avid listeners of this show or any of our shows also have companies. You know, maybe you're the CMO or you're in charge of media buying for your company. And have you ever thought about buying ads on Twit? I guess is the question. Let me give you the pitch. First of all, because of the way we do ads, and we kind of invented this in the early days of podcasting, our host read ads. When I do an ad, it is, and I treat it this way, an introduction. I am introducing you to our highly qualified audience of listeners, and it really works. Let me give you some stats. 56% of podcast listeners, just in general, pay more attention when a host reads an ad on their show. I would say it's even higher on our shows. When we talk about our audience, 72% of our listeners have a job function directly related to technology. 87% are decision makers in tech and IT. 87%. And we have very affluent audience, top earners. 66% of our audience, 2/3 makes 100K or more. 23% over 200K. So this is an audience you want to reach. If you have a good or service in the tech sphere, I think you really want. And actually, we do a lot of consumer goods too, from clothes to sheets to jewelry. And we've been very successful to food boxes. We've been very successful with them. Plus, we do something kind of, I think I'm very proud of. Over time, Lisa and I have built a continuity department. This is something a TV station would have. I don't think most podcast networks have. We have Debbie and Viva and Sebastian and Lisa and Max and Ryan who are there to serve you for everything from copywriting to graphic design. When we do the ads, they're unique every time. We don't pre-record ads and stick them in. We guarantee over delivery on impressions. So when you buy a podcast ad or any media ad, you're buying a certain number of impressions. We guarantee you those impressions and then some. Onboarding services, detailed reporting, free of cost if you're a direct client. We'll offer you courtesy commercials that are shareable across social media and landing pages. Those are very effective selling tools because you can put that on your website. And now it's one of us, Jason, Micah, Ant, me, talking about your product or service. And I think I know our audience values our integrity and honesty. And so when they see those ads, they know they're real. They're genuine. We will put you in our newsletter. We get a lot of freebies. Mentions in the newsletter, that goes out to thousands of fans. We have recession bonuses right now. Wish we didn't have to, but hey, we understand, times are tough and we're partners with you. We'll help you with social media promotion and even value add. We'll put you on shows you didn't even have to buy. I'll give you an example. We talk all the time on this show and Security Now and others about this, the Things Canary, right? You've heard those ads. The founder over at Things, Tarun Mir, has been very kind. He says, this is a direct quote, "We expected Twit to work well for us because we were longtime listeners who, over the years, bought many of the products and services we learned about on various shows," right? You do. We weren't disappointed. The combination of the very personal ad reads and the careful selection of products that Twit believes in gives the ads an authentic, trusted voice that works really well for products like ours, like this Canary. And he left the quote with this: 10 out of 10 we'll use again. They've been with us for a long time. Many of our advertisers have been with us for many, many years. And Cashfly, been with us for more than a decade. Our listeners are a highly intelligent, heavily engaged, tech-savvy audience. You know that because that's you. And if you're ready to elevate your brand, we would like to make an introduction to our audience of your brand. Launch your campaign today. Break out of the advertising norm. And that's the hard part, I understand. For a lot of companies, podcast advertising is an unknown. We're an unknown. You watch the show. You tell your boss. You tell your marketing people, we got to be on Twit. Often, as in the case of Haroon, that makes the difference. You're going to them and saying, I think we should be on Twit. Check out what we have to offer. If you want to know more, twit.tv/advertise. Twit.tv/advertise. I'm very proud of what we do here at Twit. I'm super proud of our team, and I think you could benefit. So reach out. Twit.tv/advertise. Enough said. Let's get back to the program. I muted their mics so that neither Paul nor Rich could say anything.
We muted ourselves too. We're not children yet.
Nor snorts of laughter. What's your tip of the week, Paul?
Well, I'd hoped this to be a better tip because I was hoping it would be available by now. But any day now, Microsoft is going to release an updated version of the Windows 11 ISO that you download from its website, right? So if you go to, let me find the site. Microsoft.com/software-download/Windows 11. If you just Google download Windows 11, you'll get to the download Windows 11 page. There's an installation assistant if you're running Windows 11. There's a create Windows 11 installation media choice, right, where you use the media creation tool to download the ISO or create a bootable USB or DVD. And then there's the third one, which is download Windows 11 disk image ISO for x64 devices. There's only one choice there. Windows 11 multi-edition ISO. That means during setup, you'll get to choose which edition, right, that you install. So you choose that, and you can choose your product language, English, United States in my case. And Windows 11 is only x64. And what this thing is, when you download it today, is Windows 11 22H2. So you have to install updates to get up to date. However, any day now, Microsoft is going to update this so that what you download is 22H2 plus all of the updates that have come through the May 2023 Patch Tuesday. So that means you get moment 1 and moment 2, all of the CFRs that have occurred in between, and including that last one, which is the one that adds that toggle switch to Windows Update, remember? So it's really up to date. The problem is I kept checking this thing and it's still on the old one. So the file name is win11_22h2_English, in my case, _x64v1. And that's if that's what it says, don't bother. That's the old one. I'm waiting for this thing to switch over where it says V2. And when that happens, I will be, doing what I do with these things. But anyway, it's coming. So I was hoping by the time the show started, this would have happened. I've checked it 3 times today. Still hasn't happened. It is going to happen soon. So
it'll happen the minute the show ends. It'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. I hope so. It's been days. I've recommended for the Epic. I've recommended Brave in the past. I use Brave as my web browser.
You're not going to do this to me again.
Strongly recommend it again. So here's the deal. So, well, there are various tools you can use online.
Yeah.
To see how well your browser does to protect your privacy. Right. The electronic, what's it called? Freedom Frontier Foundation. EFF has something called Cover Your Tracks, for example. Yep. Browsers like Chrome and Edge in particular are very unsafe, especially if you haven't installed any, extensions like Privacy Badger is a great one. That will kind of help a lot. But out of the box, Brave is the safest one by far. And what it does particularly well is block third-party trackers. But the people that make third-party trackers are starting to figure out that these things are being blocked, and so they're starting to use these insidious new ways to kind of emulate first-party trackers or latch on to first-party trackers. And so now Brave is adding features to control first-party trackers. The issue with that is first-party trackers can be useful, right? So, for example, when you go to, Outlook.com for your email, you want it to automatically sign you in every time you go, right? But I guess they basically looked at this and said, well, how many sites do you use that you want that? Would it make sense to block that on most sites and only allow it on the sites that you choose, right? So they're adding a feature that is called Forgetful Browsing. It will debut in 2 versions.
It's a great name.
Because it sounds like it has like a memory issue, but
a bad thing.
Yeah.
Can I get it if I download the beta?
Yeah, it's in. I think today it might be in Canary.
Okay.
The version you're looking for is 1.53.
Okay.
The current version is 1.51. That's on the desktop. It's a little different on Android, but what this is going to, so it's going to work in one of two ways. You could just go in and there's already there's a control in Brave called Brave Shields. And if you click on it, it will show you all the trackers that it blocked for the current site. Like on my site, for example, it blocked approximately 1,100 and 10 blockers, but just kidding.
Yeah, I'm
but they're
surprised
going
you're
to add an
recommending
option.
this.
No, you should do it. It doesn't matter. They're going to add an option for Forget Me on this site. So but you can use it in two different ways. You could just use the browser normally, and when you don't want to be remembered at a site, you can check it for that site and it will always work. And the idea there's a lot of reasons to do this, and some
So
of
it's
them
kind of like reverse incognito mode, right? Like it's what we thought incognito mode did, but it actually is doing it.
Yes. So this is a little strange. So some of these are borderline. People are going to say, "Oh, I don't know about this." So one of the ways you could use this
is
you go to a site
1.52 is the beta. Is that not?
Oh, no, it's 1.53 is the one.
Okay.
So it's probably whatever the next one is.
It's one off. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you go to a site where they're like, hey, we're like Bloomberg does this. We're going to let you read like a certain number of articles per month, and then you have to pay, and you can actually shut off the fingerprinting so it doesn't know that it's you. And presumably you could use it to kind of bypass that kind of thing. So there is that part of it. But from a privacy perspective, what you're trying to do is reduce your footprint on the web, right? In this case, they call it a fingerprint, actually. That you don't want sites to be able to follow you around, basically. So the other way you could use it is to say, I'm going to turn this thing on for the entire web, but the sites I do want it's assigned me, like Gmail or Outlook.com or whatever it is, Amazon maybe. You can say, don't forget me on this site. Like I want, you'll just say, I'll basically block list most of the internet and then okay the handful of sites that I do want that capability. So it's coming soon. It's not there yet, but Leo's trying to find it, I guess.
No, because I have 1.52, so it won't be in here yet.
It won't be in beta yet.
I'm
not
just
yet. So I think they're on the same 4-week schedule, right? Is Chrome 3 or 4 weeks now?
I can't remember. 3. They said it. I think
it's
they changed
3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think so too. So they're on the same schedule. So it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 weeks from now because I think they announced this a week ago. But I believe it's in Canary now. If you want to test it, there's other stuff they're doing with regards to first party cookie and other storage, et cetera, et cetera. But this is kind of the big one that's coming up. So that's just and
Brave is based on Chromium, like Edge is, like Google Chrome is. So it's fast, it's compatible with everything and so forth. It uses Chrome extensions and so all of your things. But it has built in a lot of the things that I use extensions for.
Out of the box, blocking. I mean, this thing is better than Edge with Privacy Badger.
It's even got a VPN, Brave Firewall plus VPN.
Yep.
But you have to pay for that. Yeah. Well, I like Brave. I've always used it as kind of an alternative browser.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer it to Chrome, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah. They're adding a lot of features since I've used it last. There's now Brave Talk.
No, it's crazy. Yeah.
That you can join a meeting with Brave instead of say Google Meet.
If you want to see a lot of features, run Microsoft Edge. Like I wrote the Edge chapters 3 or 4 months ago. I have to redo everything. They've changed so much. Yeah, it's crazy. It's hard to keep track of.
All right. I think we should get a little Run as Radio update from Mr. Richard Campbell.
This is a show we've largely talked about already on Windows Weekly. This is the dealing with vulnerable Exchange servers, and I talked to Gareth Gudger about this. This is episode 1880, and we were specifically addressing older Exchange servers that are in hybrid mode into M365, and Gareth made no bones about the fact that the way that Microsoft evaluates email coming from a hybrid joined server gives it more privilege than coming through any other mean. And so the fact that these machines are being exploited to send spam is a problem for Microsoft. And so the main thing they're doing is they're rate limiting the amount of email, which is not going to affect a normal organization, but it sure does affect a spammer. And then we got into the great conversation about just how badly the Exchange team communicated this and just sent Exchange server admins through the roof. It is a very specific case for a very specific reason, and it was good to address this. And they're doing the best they can the way they're doing it. He's a reliable guy on this topic, and it was great to just validate with somebody's really in there. This is what it's about.
Nice. Runasradio.com. And now The moment you've all been waiting for. A drink.
I'm taking the easy path, while I'm on the road. I was in the Netherlands last week, so yeah, this is a whiskey that's actually from almost my backyard. There's a suburb of Vancouver called Delta. It's very much a farm community, and there's a small distillery there named Goodrich and Williams, and they've been making some very nice whiskeys based on Canadian grains largely. And the one I picked here is their northern grains. So scroll to the right there.
Okay. Not Western, not Western grains.
Right.
Let's go farther north. There we go.
That looks completely different.
To the northern grains. So this is wheat from British Columbia, northern wheat.
Interesting.
And malted barley combined, French oak. Which they're actually buying those from our wine region. The Okanagan Valley literally follows the line of semi-arable desert through Columbia Valley, Willamette Valley, down into Sonoma. That's all the same stretch. So the Okanagan, very much that same style thing. So they're getting used oak wine casks from them, grain from BC, and they've been making a no-age appellation. So it's only 3 or 4 years old. But it's for $40, drinks very nicely. Unfortunately, relatively difficult to find because it is such a small distillery.
So the only Canadian whiskey I'm familiar with, of course, is Crown Royal.
Crown Royal.
And Canadian Club,
cocktail
I guess,
go-to.
Right? Yeah.
Canadian Club, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Canadian
Club.
So is there a kind of style, the Canadian style that this shares?
And this one doesn't follow that.
Oh,
the
okay.
traditional Canadian whiskeys were prohibition whiskeys. They were relatively inexpensive whiskeys designed to be smuggled into America because you guys had gone insane. And so they they had a
temporary
lot of
insanity, but yes.
Yeah. So they were more like bourbon. They were corn and malted barley,
right.
and often a fair bit of rye. In fact, a lot of early Canadian whiskey was largely rye
whiskey.
But all of that was shaped by Prohibition. And I have been assembling notes for a while now to have a talk about Prohibition in general and how it shaped the whiskey industry around the world. Nice. This is not that whiskey. This is a very much a 20th century small scale distiller that's making remarkably good award-winning whiskey right in BC.
Goodrich and Williams Northern Grains. And I had no idea that you and I were in the same valley. Okanagan Valley goes all the way down to Sonoma?
Yeah, very much between the two.
And thanks to global warming,
mountain
it will
chains.
soon have exactly the same weather as you do.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So it's two different, one's the sea, right? Or no?
No, it's mountains on both sides.
Two mountain ranges,
Yeah.
and they just go all the way up to Canada from here.
All the way. Yeah, you're exactly right.
I have
Are you
no
trying
idea.
to suggest that the border between the United States and Canada is arbitrary?
It's made up.
Who would have thunk it?
We're in, here we are broadcasting to you from Okanagan Valley.
Right.
South.
Oh, I do have some friends up there, so I'll do a couple of shows from there with a collection of wine with me, I'm sure.
That's wild. I had no idea. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll try that Northern Grains. I hope you have fun in Antwerp, Richard.
Leaving tomorrow.
Oh, you've already done your thing.
Yeah, all finished. Recorded some shows, did a couple of stage productions, had a great time. So,
Nice.
Build next week, but we'll be hanging out on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Will you be at Build or will you be home?
I'll be at Build.
All right. So we'll have a reporter on the ground floor. And you, Paul, will you also be at Build or will you be at home?
No, they did not invite the press,
What is Richard?
which is a podcaster.
I mean, a trusted friend. Yeah, I'm in as a podcaster.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No, I mean, he is going to be helping with podcasts.
Oh, their
and things.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think podcasters should count as press. Maybe it's just me.
I could not agree.
And you are a podcaster, Paul. If nothing else, you are a
I mean, I feel like I've been doing it for a little while. I wouldn't get too ahead of myself.
cray. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will be doing
It's a little
live
messed up.
coverage. So Windows Weekly will be back Tuesday, 9 a.m.
Right.
Pacific, noon Eastern. That is 1600 UTC for live coverage of the keynote, which we believe will be now. It was Satya. Is it now Panos?
No, it's a bunch of people. It's going to be
Okay.
Satya, the guy from OpenAI, a bunch of other people.
Sam Altman from OpenAI, Satya Nadella. It will be the AI keynote, we think. And then Wednesday, the following day, another keynote. And, there's some thought that perhaps it would be an announcement of Windows 12. We don't know.
I heard people were tired of not having cats.
Oh, more cats.
My cats are annoying and they don't like to be held. So she's.
Do you call her Mr. Whiskers?
I call her Little Cat.
Little cat and big cat. Well, now we've got a cat tail in the show. It's just like it used to be.
There you go.
Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. That is his website, and you should definitely be a premium member. I am. You should also check out his books at leanpub.com. Of course, there's a field guide to Windows 11, which has a chewy center of Windows 10.
Yep.
And then there's entirely another book that he just released called Windows Everywhere, which is that series he was doing for premium members on thurrott.com about, kind of all the programming languages and stuff. It's kind of a history of Windows.
It's a history, yeah. History of Microsoft.
Fascinating.
Or history of Windows. Sorry.
Windows Everywhere, both at leanpub.com. You set your own price, by the way. Are there they're hardbound editions, right? It's not just ebooks.
So it's oh boy. So the Windows 11 field guide's not done yet, so I can't do a printed version yet.
See. You wouldn't want one because it's going to be
tough because it changes so often. But I can do it. The Windows Everywhere book, I can't. It's too big.
Can't
It's
get it
just too
bound.
thick. I've never
too
found a way.
thick.
I've tried to go through Amazon. I've
Wow.
tried different services, and it's just too
Oh.
big. Like every time it comes back, it says,
It's-
"Yeah,
This is what happened to J.R.R. Tolkien with
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Fellowship of the Ring. Right?
Too
That's
big
why he
to
made the
print.
trilogy.
Unbelievable. Well, good job, Paul.
Yeah.
You just write like the Dickens, literally. Charles Dickens.
It's a
Yeah.
big book."
Paid by the word. Richard Campbell's show, Run as Radio, and .NET Rocks, his shows. Because you know what? He's a podcaster. He's not a journalist. He's a podcaster. Available at runasradio.com. And we look forward to see what you do at Build. That'll be fun.
We'll have some fun.
Yeah. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you want to watch us do it live, you can. All you need to do is go to live.twit.tv. There's streaming audio and video there. After the fact, we make on-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/dubdub. Of course, now, if you don't like ads, you can join Club Twit for $7 a month to get an ad-free version of this show and all the shows we do, plus shows that we don't put out in public, like Paul's Hands on Windows, which is an excellent show. There's Hands on Mac. There's Untitled Linux show. There's a whole bunch of great stuff. We just launched Scott Wilkinson's Home Theater Geeks. So you're supporting the network. You're getting ad-free shows. You're also getting access to the Club Twit Discord. So if you're not a member, please check it out at twit.tv/clubtwit. We would love to have you in the club. We also have a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. Actually, you'll find a link at the Windows Weekly site at twit.tv/dubdub. Or you could subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That's probably the best way to do it. We don't care how you can watch it any way you want. YouTube, on the website, podcast client, but it's easiest for you, I would imagine, to subscribe. That way you just get it automatically, and whenever you're in the mood, you've got it there on your device. We have links to some of the big podcast clients, but also a link to an RSS feed so you can subscribe anywhere. I hope you will, and I hope you'll be back. Remember, we start early next Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, and then Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, and then the regular Windows Weekly right after those keynotes from Microsoft Build. Have a great trip home, Richard. I hope you travel well, and we'll see you up in Redmond. Is that where Build is? Where is Build?
It's Seattle.
It's in Seattle. It's in Redmond. Okay.
It'll be in Seattle
Seattle. Okay.
at the convention center.
Across the border. Yeah, it's easy for you. You just hop in a car and say hi to the Mounties as you drive by.
Drive down.
Yep. Paul, we'll see you next week, too. And we see all of you, I certainly hope, on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here. In case you hadn't heard, Home Theater Geeks is back. Each week, I bring you the latest audio-video news, tips and tricks to get the most out of your AV system, product reviews, and more. You can enjoy Home Theater Geeks only if you're a member of Club TWIP, which costs $7 a month, or you can subscribe to Home Theater Geeks by itself for only $2.99 a month. I hope you'll join me for a weekly dose of home theater geekitude.